Oh, he could have told me that it was 2012 again and Corey Parker was around, because that's what it feels like right now. And man, this decision myself to play short 2 weeks ago instead of getting Adam Tui is hurting the soul. And I've been a lover of that man for a long time. And now apparently the GOAT himself, Corey Parker, the goal kicking 13, is here, and he is at a cut price. So that's the sad thing on this one. So shout out to the people that it's worked out for. But this game is seriously, it's a game of 50-50s, and I had that decision. I was like, I feel like it's just going to be a 1 week thing in the halves, and then he'll be back at centre. And that was the case until the second half of that game last week. He'd already put on a fair few tries, and then he played 13, and now he's been moved into that spot with Taylor May actually returning in the centres there. So just a crazy turn of events. And if you ended up with Adam Dewey, like Mitch, who's been absolutely pizzling me on his videos at the moment, and the Isaiah Yeo chat from him hurts even harder after now that we know that the Panthers boys in him and Cleary are being rested. So the other 50-50 for me was last week, Angus Crichton, or to jump ahead of the game and get Isaiah Yeo. And unfortunately, I picked Isaiah for 14 less points and then a resting this week. Now, thankfully, with a couple of trades that I was going to make anyway, it does set me in a spot where I still have enough players. I just need all of those guys to do well, and hopefully we can get a looper out of one or two of our guys. And when I say one or two of them, I'm hoping that we can get a good score out of Lycan King Tonga, but Latu Fainu would be the correct one that I want, or the guy that is most likely to do pretty well. So that's some of the big news for TLT in round 20, and some of the annoying ones that are sitting in my head anyway. So I'm going to need the night to work all this out and process it, and get back tomorrow with the best buys in the morning. Okay, with the Fins and the Cowboys kicking things off on Thursday night there, so we're back to normal programming. What you see for the Cows there is a big decision on Scotty Drinkwater, and now with a couple of those outs, I think that he's a very, very easy target this week, if you possibly can, to loop him. Against the Fins, we know that they can have some troubles at the moment defensively, so he could come out and do pretty well. Tom Dearden scoring really, really well and taking the majority of the kick meters in this starting role, especially with Jackson Purdue. So that will continue, but I feel like it's hard to select him when you have his counterpart on the other side of the field in Isaiah Katoa, who is in a really, really good spot right now as the second or third best half. Now, I want to use this video to talk about some point of difference players as well, so some pods. What I will say, though, is that in this game anyway, there's no one really that is standing out. You've got the Isakos that have had their run already. Definitely won't be pushing you towards a Sean O'Sullivan. So Herbie Farnworth and Isaiah Katoa, just be aware that they do have a bye next week. So, in some cases, that's actually really helpful. So you can get the extra bye player to be able to loop with next week. So you get the good score out of them this week, and then the bye out of the way. I don't actually mind that, especially in these early rounds of the final 8. Because we've got all these trades available and we can fix things up if there are issues next week, the week after, and you most likely will be fine, especially if you've got, like myself, Cleary and Yo, you've definitely got the 2 players returning next week. Okay, moving along to the next game there, which is going to be the Sharkies and the Roosters. For the Roosters, of course, Angus Crichton is available. I'll be looking to target him this week. Feketi keeps his spot in the back row with no sign of Siwa Wong at this stage, and Feketi's playing that well that he's going to continue to go up in price and continue to score well. So play him with confidence this week, you lucky buggers. Yeah, he's just done so great, and he's going to continue going up in price. So it's one I wish had gone a different way for myself. I've just had way too many mids and edges coming into those weeks there. But the big Chad is back. How good is that? In the 6 jersey with Hugo Savala out. Something's going on with Sandon Smith and not wanting to play him now that Chad is well and truly back. He gets first precedence instead of Sandon Smith, which I find really interesting. So if you are holding to Sandon, he's definitely done. Not that you were looking to play him anyway, but very easy move on at this stage. Connor Watson, maybe with Yo out this week, he might get targeted a little bit more. I'm still very happy to own Nwongi Tawaza here. What we have seen is some weeks there's a propensity to go a certain direction, and last week for the Roosters it was left. We will note though that they had Sam Walker in there back in and on the left, so that had something to do with it. But defensively, their opposition in the Dragons were very, very poor on their right hand side defensively. So for the left of the Roosters last week, so I'm very much hoping that can push back to the right hand side a little bit more with Rob Toya on that right hand side, who was an absolute jet. And we saw the right hand side kind of open up a decent amount in the first half of the season. We saw a fair few tries to guys like Dom Young on that side, but we'll have to see how that one plays out. Nafahu White, keep doing the damn thing, you legend. Now for the Sharkies, we do have a couple of those mid-range guys that you could drop down to in Ramian and also Ronnie Mulatalo. They're in that mid-400s to low 400s for Mully. That kind of target range, which we know that they can have their days, and they're going to go for a decent run here in the near future. So if you do need to downgrade from a 500 to 600k guy to potentially upgrade this week, maybe it's next week for Payne Haas or Cleary if you're trying to get back to those guys, and that's where the interesting side of things could go for those guys. And if you want to go against the pack, go for Blake Brayley in the 9. He's a bit of a point of difference guy. Britain Nikora I still think is a very clear hold. They're going to go on a nice run here, and I can't see him being the guy. And now I'll take this moment to give Mitchy Boy some crap again, given he did sell KPP last week, who I feel like is a keeper, and this week he's talking about selling DCE or Nikora to a sideways swap to Tino. Not sure about that. We've seen Nikora absolutely dominate this period of time, and Tino's been in some poor form, which yes, he's going to improve with his surname being a bit better. And I thought you bought DCE for a reason, bro. Not sure what the go is there. Thought you meant to stick and pick and stick, not chop and change all the time. And I'm still trying to work out what's happening with Mitchy Boy. He bans the word launch, but then he uses it. He actually says it out loud twice, and he refers to it 10 times in the video. In a 25-minute video, he refers to it 10 times. So trying to work out if it's actually banned or he just likes to talk about it, but not actually say the word too much. 2 times is a pretty significant amount, Mitchy Boy. So thoughts there. And then your trades, brother. I'm not sure what's going on there with having 15 overall a couple of weeks ago, and you've been like, I'm trying to conserve and all this sort of stuff, and then you're just going to go bang, 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 4, 3, back to 0, get your 8 left, knock out another 3 this week, and obviously lucky that you haven't got Yo yet, so you might hold off on him for the week. But trying to get Tino, trying to get Yo, trying to get Payne Haas as well. He's going to be the most stacked team alive. So love it, mate. We'll see you in the top 1,000 very, very soon. Adam Finnell-Blake feels like a hold to me. We'll speak about him in tomorrow's video. And for those that aren't catching on with the me and Mitch beef, go check out his video. He did make me laugh out loud a couple of times there. And 25 minutes of launching apparently. Panthers and Rabbitohs, this was a sad one for me, but what it will be good for is Latrell Mitchell on the other side. So with Cleary and Yo both getting a rest, and I probably should have been a little bit smarter on this one. I thought that they probably would have rested him if they were going to last week, but instead they gave him a bit of time off the bench, and I thought that might be enough, but no, they've gone the full hog and giving them the full game off in this one, which is pretty tough to see for myself, given I own the both of them and could have held off from Yo until this week. It wasn't the case. That's where having someone like Faghetti 4 weeks ago or 5 weeks ago would have been ideal, but too many Raiders guys and stuff, which is something we'll learn for next year, is to keep options open and not have an overload in certain positions. That is a definite learning for me this week. But this year, this last week is definitely added to it. But Isaiah Papali'i will play in the 13 this week. The trail I have as one of the bigger must-haves of the week. But this one here, they're playing Ewan Aitken right now in the back row, and Talis Duncan's going to sit in the centres again. And look, it worked out eventually last game with the try-double, but is he going to get that lucky again? I'm a little bit worried about it, and I think you definitely hold this week with the still fairly low break even, And then, with the issues that we've got for the Panthers boys as well. But keep him on notice that if he does happen to stay there next week, then he probably will be a sell. He's done a great job for those owners, but it would be very frustrating. And Aiken back in the back row, I think he's a very clear hold this week now, and see how things go from there. And you've got Keon in the middle there as well, which is good. Lewis Dodd on the bench. Yeah, you got White and Humphreys in halves. No real point of difference plays in either of those sides there. Now for the Raiders and the Eels on Saturday afternoon. On the Raiders side of things, you've got the Joe Tarpanay situation, and I think definitely I'll be holding this week, copying any potential price losses, but we know he can have absolute stormers of a game, and I'm going to hope that without Yo, he can step up for me, and if he doesn't, we'll just have to cry about it in the corner at home. For Hosking, hopefully with this situation as well, he can still get the good minutes, close to the 80 with Hudson Young back. I'm a little bit worried on the output, especially on the running side, but defensive numbers should hopefully still be there. And it sounds like he'll be up against, if they decide to go that way, with Katonga out, they'll have Jack Williams as a replacement there with Charlie Guyman playing on the other side last week. Horsburgh, clear hold, same with Jamal Fogarty, and he's got through that bye now. They all have one to go, the Raiders, so you could have a look at those guys, but none of them stand out as like clear dominant guys, apart from Hudson Young, who has had that bit of a rest now and should be good to go to continue on his 60-plus scoring ways. Very, very impressive. For the Eels, there's a little bit of a point of difference play in Lomax, but he does feel like he's a little bit below the best wing fullbacks. They've actually fully gone on and oh, goodness me. They've actually gone and completely removed Dylan Brown from the side. There you go. Good English, Jamie. And pushed him into 18th man. So that's pretty big. Pretty big there for sure. Talon De Silva there, still a potential option in your cheap range. You got him, Fletcher Hunt, as a couple of clear guys there. We do see Riley Smith move into the starting jersey with Joey Lussick out of this side. And just kind of makes sense. They don't have to play Joey massive minutes. I wonder how it's going to split though. I think Talon will probably still be in the 20 to 35 to 40 range max in terms of minutes. So don't expect really, really good scores. And no one else of real interest in that side. Moving along to the Doggies and the Dragons there on Saturday afternoon. For the Doggies, we do see Burton and Galvin together with Toby Sexton out of the side. So Galvin, really fun half price. Burton in pretty good spot as well. I think Galvin, this is a decent target week, but he actually hasn't scored well all year, so I think that you could probably go for someone like Tanner Boyd instead of going for Galvin at the moment. I think you'll get a much more consistent score and average out of him. Hopefully we do see Mr. Crichton and Karaz back on the correct side together. Karaz did play on the right last week, which was good, and then you've got Chuala and Rinakama, Jethro there on the left, most likely with your boy out, Bronson Sherry. So what happened to Bronson in the end? Injured. No reason for the injury. So that's that team. Preston, Kickow, still the point of difference type guys. I wouldn't really look to target Reid Marnie. I think there's a few others now, 5 or 6 that you'd go before him. In terms of pods in the back line for the Dragons, you're looking at Valentine Holmes, who is in a very, very similar boat to Zach Lomax, a guy that can average close to 50, but I think they have to do a lot to get to that spot. Damien Cook, a few people will sell him this week, and it makes sense, minutes-wise and stuff. He's a bit all over the shop. Can you trust him for a 50 or a 60? Or is it going to be more the high 30s like we saw last week? That's going to be the question mark. Luciano Leilua with the beautiful hands on the weekend. So, not too much really to talk about in that Dragon side there. King Tonga, some people will sell, and that makes a lot of sense. Storm and Eagles there. For the Storm, we still see Pap out and calf tightness. Yeah, right. He's not even close to it. Not even in the reserve. So I think with Pap, if you haven't sold as yet, I think this is the correct time to sell. And I own him in Supercoach, and I think I will be moving on. And the goal was to, once I heard he was out, was to go Pap to Cleary, and then I found out Cleary was out as well. So that was frustrating. Now for the rest of the side, Kane Bradley keeps his spot. Same with Howarth. Munster does return, which is good. Hughes, can you buy him? Look, he's in a really good vein of form, but you do have Munster who's going to get a bit more involved. And I feel like Wishart last year was not very passive, and this year in 2025, because he's only played the few games and he's just in as a stopgap. Jerome Hughes has still been the clear ball runner, ball kicker, whereas when Munster's there, it does change a little bit. So I think now that he's up at that very high price, it's probably not one to buy, but one to just hold on and enjoy the ride. Now for the Manly side, things stay the same for them. Turbo's still at a really cheap price that, if you could pick him or like the Jesse Ramians, Mulitalos, you definitely go for Turbo, although he's getting up closer to the 500k mark rather than the mid-tier 400k. Garrick, I feel like with him now, with a couple of outs, he very quickly becomes a bit more important. If you've got Saval, if you've got Lucas like myself, they become very easy sells, and guys like Garrick, you just got to hope that they can come out and do a pretty good job against Kane Bradley. He's up against him, and looks like Grant Anderson will come on the other side there with Meaney at fullback. So it's a little bit of a different situation for them on that left-hand side, which I think could be fun. So hopefully that works out there. And then Eli Gatoa is still, a great pick, but Harry Grant is the point of difference guy at hooker, which, not really anyone is talking about or buying at the moment. So there's those two. There's those two teams. Now, Tigers, Titans, this will be an absolute beautiful one. I think Hammy from Sportsbet was talking about the Corey Thompson Cup. Love that. For the Tigers there, Talamada's return, as I said, Adam Dewey at 13, just, provides some value there. He's going to have running numbers, he's going to have his tackle numbers, he's going to kick goals. And this week there may be a few against the Titans. It could be a bit of a shootout. So Dewey has all the makings to be a perfect 13 and with goal kicking as well. So that is scary, and I'll be watching this week to see how it plays out and how many minutes and all that kind of stuff as well with him. Captaincy this week, I was actually probably going to lean a little bit more towards Cleary after seeing Terrell just looking pretty tired. Parts now with Cleary out, no Haas. He probably just, you just stick with him as the clear top guy, and he'll have a fun match up against, Tino and Fodawaker and Campbell Gillard and these types of guys there. So no one else is really one that you should look at, especially outside backs for the Tigers. We won't entertain Taylor May after what he did to us last year. All right, for the Titans there, Campbell, surely it's bounce back week for him. I'm excited to see how that one plays out. Looks like he'll be playing in my halves with Campbell being with Clearer being out this week. And then in your forwards, both are more a really good pick, and Tino, both lower ownership, especially Tino. So they're the pod plays this week. David Fafita's off the bench. He's going to be so cheap next year, just like Kalen Ponga. Yeah, but that's about it. Chris Randall, we can still hold on. Another good week for him last week. And then to finish it off, Knights and the Wars there. For the Knights, Dan Gagai keeps his spot at 1, so it would definitely be a point of difference play. Fletcher Hunt in at centre still. We prefer him at fullback, but it is what it is at the moment with injuries, and it's not going to change for Fletcher, for Ponga, and for Lucas this year. What about Brodie Jones? Ends up grabbing that left edge spot. So I just think they're going to go right a lot more to Kaipi's Paul. Like we saw it last week, how well he did, especially across the whole game, but especially in that second half as well. And then Jaden Brayley gets pushed back into the starting jersey after a 1-week rental there from Phoenix Crossland. He's back to 13 with Frizzell on the bench there, with Jermaine McEwen being looks like he'll be a permanent fixture now to take some of those Brodie Jones minutes in that one. So do sell Dylan Lucas. And then to finish it off on the other side with the Wars, they get to play the Knights away from home, which will be a very, very fun clash for them. They really need to get a good win here. I think just to cement that they feel like they're doing the right things, especially with their new halfback in Tanner, who is definitely a potential buy as well. Fish Harris, we just haven't seen it out of him enough. And then, make sure you do get Clark in your side. Taintul Picky will get another week or two, whatever it is, for Chance being out. And we just see Rocco Berry out, which pushes Kirk Cabwell back into the centre. So there you go, guys. That's the team list video for the week. A little bit of a dig at Mitchie. We're going to go back and forth with our videos. The thing is, for me, I can keep doing it each video because he's just got the one a week. And it worked out perfectly for him, this one. So I'm sure next week he'll have a bit of a rant about that and, give me crap for for picking Yo and whatever else, but hopefully we both just do well together. I just stay that little bit ahead like I have been this year. I've got to take my glory because the last few years even when I've done pretty well, he's done that bit better. So there's the TLT for round 20, guys. 8 rounds to go. Get launching with those trades, and we'll catch you in that Best Buys video in the morning.